And next, let us look at some of the educational approaches and the interventions that can be used to support the gifted, talented and creative children in the classroom. The first educational approach is differentiated instruction. Now, differentiated instruction means that using different instructional methodologies or teaching methodologies in the classroom. Because we have already discussed that every child is different, every learner is different, which means that every classroom will have students with different kinds of abilities. So some may be average, some may be a little less than average, some may be gifted or talented. So by using different teaching methodologies, you are making sure that all children understand the concepts and the basics that you are trying to teach. Some may prefer a lecture method, some may prefer to just read the textbooks and understand the concepts by themselves. Some may require a more hands-on or a experiential learning methodology. Therefore, using different teaching methodologies is very, very important. Next comes self-directed learning. Self-directed learning means you are giving children an opportunity to set their own targets and set their own pace or speed. For example, if the syllabus says that you have to complete 4 chapters in a particular month, then if some of the students are capable of finishing those 4 chapters in 15 days, then you give them an opportunity to complete it in 15 days. And you can always give them additional activities or additional practice in the remaining time to keep them engaged and challenged. So children are setting their own targets and their own speed as well. Then comes acceleration. Acceleration means that you are increasing the pace of the learning. That is, if children are supposed to learn only about 10 concepts in a particular topic, then if children are capable of learning a lot more, then you expose them to additional concepts, you give them more exercises, more projects, and you can even expose them to concepts from other chapters, even other classes, so that you can speed up their learning. So that is acceleration. Then comes ability grouping. So ability grouping can be homogeneous or heterogeneous. For example, in a classroom, if I make a group of all children who are good with mathematics, and I make a group of all children who are good with languages. So these are homogeneous groups. And if I make a mixed group of children, some of whom are good in mathematics, some of whom are good in languages, so that is a mixed group or a heterogeneous group. Now, by making groups of children with different kinds of abilities or similar kind of abilities, I can use these groups to complete different types of activities and different types of projects and tasks in the classroom. For example, if I make a group of children who are all good with mathematics, then I know that they already understand the basics, so I can teach them the next level of mathematics and more advanced level of mathematics. And when I make a heterogeneous group, then I'm giving children an opportunity to interact with each other and learn from each other. Therefore, ability grouping can also be used in different ways for teaching all the children in your classroom, including the gifted, talented and creative children. Then comes mentor programs. By assigning mentors to the gifted and the talented students, you give them an opportunity to interact 1:1 with their mentor so that they can get better guidance and better support. So mentorship programs are also very important. Then comes enrichment. Enrichment means that you are introducing additional material or more concepts, or you are giving them better assignments than what is prescribed in the syllabus. For example, if the syllabus just has the theoretical aspect, you might include a practical assignment into that, or you can include a field visit into the syllabus so that children's learning gets enhanced, their interest in that topic gets increased. So enrichment means making things better. So by adding more interesting and a variety of material into the teaching process, you are enriching their learning process. And finally, curriculum design. This is probably the most basic step which covers all of the previous ones. That is, when you are designing the curriculum and when you are designing the teaching plan, then you have to make sure that you take into account the fact that your classroom will have learners with different kinds of abilities. So your curriculum should be designed to cater and to meet the needs of all children. They may be below average, average or above average. So curriculum should be designed to meet the requirements of all learners. So these are some of the important educational approaches. Moving on to interventions, let us first talk about how children need to address feelings of isolation. Now, children who are gifted and talented and creative may not be socially comfortable with other children as well. They might have a difficulty in mingling with or interacting with other children. So, which means that some of the creative and some of the talented and gifted children might have a feeling of loneliness. Right? So, teachers have to identify such a situation and help these children address such feeling of isolation or loneliness. And the gifted and the talented children might often set very high expectations or goals for themselves. For example, some children might say that I always have to get a first rank in the class. And if they don't get that, then they tend to get into a self-criticism mode. Their self-confidence starts going down. So which means that teachers have to recognize that children are not mature enough to deal with such issues by themselves, and they should help and support children or learners to deal with these situations where they get into self-criticism or they feel a loss of self-confidence. And then in a typical classroom, when you ask a question or you give an assignment, then teachers typically expect all the children to give a similar type of answer because that has been marked as the correct answer for that question or that assignment. However, teachers should realize that the gifted and the talented students might think in a different way. They might come up with a different solution. They might look at things from a different angle. So teachers should recognize this and encourage such divergent or different way of thinking. And children who are gifted and talented, who are more aware of things around them than the other average children, might be thinking about a lot of moral and social issues that they see around them in the society, in the classroom, in their families. Therefore, teachers should give some time to these children so that they can understand if the children are dealing with any moral or social issues, and they should support them in understanding them and dealing with them. And as we discussed, the creative and the talented and the gifted students might have high expectations from themselves, and they might also be facing very high expectations from others. Right? For example, if a child is very good in swimming, then the expectation from the parents, from the teacher, from the coach, it might be that the child will always do well in all the competitions. However, if the child is not able to give his or her best performance for whatever reason, then such a situation might lead to self-doubt or loss of self-confidence, or they might lead to some emotional issues as well. So teachers have to be conscious of the fact that the gifted and the talented and the creative children might have such situations where they have to deal with self-doubt or loss of self-confidence or emotional issues, and they should provide the support required to help the learners deal with such situations. So these are some of the educational approaches and some of the interventions that teachers can use to support the gifted, talented and creative children in their classroom.